Broadcasting from the campus of Salisbury University, this is WSDL Ocean City, NPR News Talk 90.7, putting Delmarva first. It's time for Delmarva Today with your host, Don Rush.
It's been 7 years since the Great Recession hit, so what does the future hold for Salisbury and its aftermath? Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. Most of the current forecasting has put Salisbury and Wicomico County on an upward trajectory. Just this week, the Salisbury Daily Times did an analysis that found home sales are up by about 14% the first half of this year compared to 2014. But the once hottest economic ticket is still sluggish. Traditional manufacturing has been slipping away, although the local economy continues to shift to more technology-based industries. And, of course, there is that never-ending question how downtown Salisbury is doing. To talk about the future of Salisbury and what has been called the crossroads of Delmarva, in our studios we have Joey Gilkerson and Brad Gillis, who are advisors to Sperry Van Ness and are behind the headquarters live venue in downtown Salisbury. Of course, they're no strangers to development, since they are the sons of prominent developers Palmer Gillis and Tony Gilkerson. We also have Bill Ahtes. He's a longtime businessman who has been called the grandfather of downtown Salisbury, and we'll get into that. We'll figure out what that was about. But first of all, I want to, Bill, I want to turn to you for a moment and kind of like look back. How do you compare or what kind of dynamics do you see in Salisbury in terms of the economy before the recession, in terms of its economic development? What were the drivers, do you think, before we hit that roadblock?
Well, for a long time, it was dead. And a lot of the reason why it was dead is because the mayor and city council could not get together. Every time the mayor would want to do something, the council would say no, and if the council thought they wanted to do something, the mayor would say no. They were always butting heads. And if you have that, you're not going anywhere downtown. And I think that stymied growth for years. But when I was active, I had the council and the mayor behind me 100%. And they were tickled to death what I was doing, and I was tickled to death because they were helping me. I had Pete Cooper, who was a big influence to me, helping me when I got ready to remodel the building, to show me what to do, tell me what to do. He worked with me day and night. And that's what you need. You need help. You can't do it by yourself.
Now, a lot of it, I noticed that a lot of the manufacturing has disappeared from the peninsula. A lot of changes going on in the economy. How did that impact the kind of growth that you could see in Salisbury, say prior, particularly to the big boom? We had a big housing boom that in the early 2000s. How did that disappearing jobs? How did that affect Salisbury?
It makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. People don't have jobs; they have no money to spend. You know, we've got to do something we've got to work hard to get new industry into Salisbury. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. If you don't have people, you don't have business.
And how do you do that?
You offer incentives. You know, the tax incentives are the main thing. Inventory incentives, anything that was to attract you will work. Look what New York's doing. They're giving 10 years free taxes right now. That's important, and I think that's what we have to strive to do. We have a great place to live. The Eastern Shore is a wonderful place to live, but you've just got to convince people of that. Every other state is doing that, and we got to get in there and we got to follow. We got a governor now who I think understands what the problem is, and I think he's going to work his tail off to help us down here on the Eastern Shore.
Brad, as you look back, I mean, you've certainly been around, not as long as Bill here, but you've been around here. What do you see as the dynamics of this economy in terms of getting it back on track, as it were? I mean, is it just a political problem that's been in the past, or are there other things going on here?
Joey and I and Mr. Ahtes, we're all in sales, so we're constant optimists is how I like to see it. So not only are we optimists, but we're also opportunistic, and we don't necessarily look at the glass as half full or half empty. What we do is we drink the water. So how we view that is I see downtown as an opportunity. I see Salisbury as an opportunity. When I came back from college 10 years ago, I saw downtown and Salisbury and the Eastern Shore in a lot of ways as a blank canvas. And we are fortunate enough to stand on the shoulders of giants such as our fathers and also Mr. Ahtes. And with that opportunity, we are seizing the moment. And interest rates have never been lower. We are having great banking relationships right now. I mean, Mr. Ahtes can say he's seen interest rates in the teens.
21.5%.
He's seen interest rates in the teens, 21.5.
21.5.
All I know is 7, max, maybe. So that creates an opportunity.
So do you? What about the idea that this economy is changing? I mean, it's I mentioned
Sure.
to Bill a moment ago that we've seen a disappearing of manufacturing. Do you see something replacing that as you try to push forward with the kind of developments that you want?
Sure. So Salisbury, Wacomico County, the Eastern Shore of Maryland, is rebranding itself as a destination. We're no longer Salisbury and Wacomico and even the Eastern Shore are the American story right now. It's happening all across the United States, and you're seeing jobs reinvent themselves. And it's no longer about going and finding that 100, 200, 300 person employer. What it is about, it's about creating a destination or a place that a millennial would like to stay and live. And once we have that and we are on the cusp of having that, we are going to be a destination for people to want to live here. And then all of a sudden you're going to see the jobs follow. So right now what we're doing is we're cleaning the car is how I kind of see it.
Joey, what about you? What would you see as the dynamics here for the economy, particularly given the kinds of developments obviously you want? You're certainly looking at, for instance, the downtown area, but then obviously there's a much larger area that you're dealing with. How do you view it?
Circling back to the bubble, the real estate residential bubble you're speaking of, just to put it in perspective, I was in high school in the early 2000s when that bubble happened. So the cool thing is, in 2008 I entered the real estate market, and every year in real estate I've continued to tell people it's the best year I've ever seen. So when I was telling people that in 2009, they thought I was crazy. When I was telling them in 2010, they thought I was crazy. Those weren't good real estate years, but for me it kept getting progressively better. So fast forwarding today, 2015, it feels hot to me. I mean, I don't have my thumb on the pulse as well as somebody that saw the real bubbles. Such Brad entered when it was he called it a blue hot market. That was 2002. I mean, you couldn't not sell something. You put a for sale sign in the yard, and the next day it was going. All that being said, the momentum, both downtown, I mean, that's been really cool to see, and also in the real estate market. I mean, everything seems to be pointing towards the right direction, in my humble opinion.
So in terms of the economy coming back, I mean, are you optimistic that there is this turnaround, or when one of the observations, I think it was Memo Devreco at Salisbury University, talks about the idea that we tend to lag behind when it comes to economic recovery. And we were seeing better numbers. We've seen the unemployment rates come down. We're certainly seeing some pickup now in the economy that's suffered from a financial crisis. But at the same time, there's this sense that the shore tends to lag. What do you think?
I would agree that the shore tends to lag, but I would also say that one of my big indicators is the residential market inventory, the homes listed for sale on the market. Once upon a time, just a couple of years ago, it was outrageous percentage-wise. You know, there's 30,000 residents in Salisbury. There were 1,000 homes on the market. I mean, there were a lot of properties available. That inventory has really shrunk up, which adds value to other people, supply demand. So from that indicator, absolutely.
Bill, did we get in Delmarva? Did we get caught up in this building boom, as it were? I mean, it seems to me, when I first got here, which was about 2003, 2004, I can remember seeing planned developments for 1,600 homes. I was just I think it was in Hebron, right, which still hasn't been built. Right. There was a place, I think, down at Snow Hill. I mean, it just seemed like a place out in Cambridge, which then collapsed. Did we just simply get caught up in this thing? I mean, and did that make the fall harder for us, do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. There's the thing that I see now as just an unemployed man riding around looking at things, I see student housing going over the hill. I mean, in apartments. The number of apartments I see being built and the amount of student housing I see being built. And then I hear that the college is not expanding the student-wise. You know, who's going to move in these houses? You know, it's going to be a problem for that. I see.
Do you think they're overbuilding?
I think they are. Yeah.
I see it. I see it a little bit differently. The multifamily and the student housing is it's becoming a sponge, and it's taking those students that have been put into single family homes, and they're now being put into these what I'll call luxury multifamily facilities with pools, amenities, clubhouses, you name it. I mean, they're just like it's like it's an attraction to these students. And what that ultimately will do, hopefully, in my opinion, it'll take these single family homes that we have within Wycomico County in the city of Salisbury, and it will make it advantageous for those folks who own them to ultimately sell them to a single family home buyer. And the goal for us collectively is going to be to raise that tide to get that home value up to make it worthwhile for the real estate investor who owns that home now to sell it.
Because go ahead.
Yeah,
Joey.
there's a theory in multifamily development too. It's never I guess I side with Bill a bit here. It's never the new one that gets built that has any trouble filling up. But when you build a new 1,000-unit complex, what have you, you create 1,000 vacancies throughout the town, which the broken window or vacant house policy, or theory rather, it can be hard to fill up, and it can cause issues in the neighborhoods as well.
Because one of the interesting numbers I saw in the Daily Times piece was that they said, you know, we had about a 14% increase in the sales, right? But then they said, but homes are only selling for the average, I think, is about in the $140,000 range, as opposed to like 5-6 years ago, it was in the $160,000 range. And so you're not getting, you know, the value of the home is still it's pretty much below what maybe even some people had bought. What do you think, Brad?
We in real estate, it's a make money very slow game, and we really can't look at it in snapshots of 3 to 5 years. You got to look at it in snapshots of 10 to 20 years, and we in Salisbury and Wycomico County we're caught up in a bubble just as much as the United States was. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at home values compared to 2006 or 7, you're right. They're lower. But if you look at them from 15 years ago, they're pretty much the same. So I would say to you that, again, it's the American story right now. And the good thing is that they're not necessarily decreasing significantly in value. They, in a lot of ways, are holding weight. And it's going to be, again, it's Joey and Mr. Ahtes and my job to create the destination that is Salisbury, Maryland, in order to raise those home values, raise the quality of life, in order to attract people that ultimately would like to pay more for a house and live in Salisbury.
There's two perspectives to that moderately low home value. The unfortunate side is those that already own homes, they may be underwater, can't sell it for what they had until what have you. But the good side is that it makes it rather affordable for somebody to buy their first home or to move and locate in Wycomico County.
Because one of the things they mentioned in the story was that while all this is happening and people are paying off their mortgages or they're paying them down, even as the value of their property rises, that wages have been kind of stagnant. I mean, I looked at, like, in Salisbury, the median income is only $37,000 a year, for example. It's still fairly low. What kind of impact does that have then on the housing market in terms of being able to buy these homes, even though we're seeing this increase? Brad?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question. Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, we've got to create a higher quality of life, and we're currently doing that right now. And once we do that, you're going to see wages increase, you're going to see home values increase, you're going to see just a greater rising of the tide. So if there's an issue with the median income within our community, we've generally always been and will most likely continue to be that kind of blue collar community, and that's where we live, and that's good. That's a good place to be.
Bill, how do you get those wages up? I mean, how do you? I mean, what's the secret here?
You bring in
Write this down.
industries. You bring in industries that pay high wages. You know, you don't bring in shirt factories. You don't bring in $8 an hour jobs. You've got to look for companies that want to hire college graduates. You know, not high school graduates. Let me give you an example.
Sure, go ahead.
Years ago, I was involved in building Canal Woods 2 and 3. My most expensive unit in Canal Woods at that time was $150,000. 10 years ago, I bought one of them for $150,000. Today, in Canal Woods, the building I live in, there are 9 vacancies out of 28. Some of them have sold as low as $65,000. And the $65,000 were $100,000 at that time. There's been the condominium market is going through a bad time right now, and they're perfect homes for young nurses, for doctors, It's easy to live in one of those. You don't have any work to do. You don't have a yard to take care of. But I wouldn't build another condominium in Salisbury for nothing. I mean, I couldn't make enough. Cherry Hill was another example. I was involved in Cherry Hill, which was one of the beautiful gated communities in Salisbury. We started off, we sold them like crazy. And all of a sudden, the market dipped. And we lost a shirt. I lost more money in that project than any project I've been in, and I've been in a lot of them. But yet, it wasn't not the quality of the home or the location. It was the fact that people just
Timing.
Timing's everything in real estate. If you hit the right time, you're going to make a fortune. If you hit the wrong time, you're going to lose a fortune. It's just that simple.
That's the secret.
That's the secret. If you know what time to buy and sell, you're it.
Let me ask you: when we hear a lot about the grain of the shore, that a lot of seniors coming here, are condominiums attractive to seniors, or are they going to single families, or what do you think, Bill?
I was told when I built my first building that condominiums were not attractive to people on the Eastern Shore. Fortunately, how it happened, I don't know, but fortunately we sold the first building out immediately. So what the heck? You sell one, you build the next one. The next one, I got caught with interest rates of 21.5%. I lost the building to the bank. I couldn't sell them.
Right.
So, but I would not get any condominium project.
I mean, right now, if you just look nationally, you'll see a graying of the shore. It's a graying of the United States in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that's because just purely of demographics. So you have the baby boomer population who is aging right now, and that aging population, that influx of number of people is creating the demand for assisted living facilities, memory care facilities, retirement facilities. And so you're seeing these pop up all across the United States. Yes, absolutely, the Eastern Shore is graying, but the United States is graying. And the good thing about that is that you have this millennial population who is just as large, if not larger, than the baby boomer population. So you're kind of witnessing a moment in history right now where you have these huge demographic shifts right now, that a 30-something can be standing and talking right beside a 70-year-old something, 80-year-old something, 60-year-old something, 50-year-old something.
Are you trying to guess my age?
No. I was trying to figure out the secret.
It's a carnival game.
Yeah.
So do you think that that seniors will be a key then to generating a lot of
this experiment that we're doing at Headquarters Live?
Yeah, go ahead.
And Joey can talk about how we have seen an influx of demographics at that facility that we didn't know would even want to come out to a music venue.
Absolutely. I was going to speak on quality of life.
Yeah.
What do? You attract industry. You make industry want to be here. One of the largest growing segments is entrepreneurs. and you look at the chart, the main thing they look at is quality of life, where they set up their business. And the reason for that is once upon a time they needed to be in New York and Wall Street. They needed proximity to these other powerhouses. Now with technology, the internet, and the speed of the internet, they can work from anywhere, essentially. Entrepreneurs are looking for places to have fun, communities that feel like communities, a place to hang their hat. And I think that us bridging the gap between downtown and Salisbury University is so much more than just giving the college kids a fun time while they're here and pumping a few dollars into our economy while they're here. I think that's the golden ticket to keep them here. Headquarters Live is just another feather in that cap, I think. It's a really cool project. It's the music venue. We did it here in downtown Salisbury. It's had the majority of my focus for the past couple of months. And the demographics you see there, we've brought the college kids out, but it's not a college kid bar by any means. I've seen Mr. Ahtes in there. We did Davey Knowles, a recording here with the Marble Public Radio. Nate's been out there. Brad, I can't keep him out of there. So you get just about every demographic out there, and it's an amazing thing to see the way that everybody meshes together so well, depending on the performance. I mean, it's a different demographic every time. There's no such thing as a regular because the act and the face of the crowd changes every single show.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I guess concerned some people was the idea that we're slowly recovering, right? We're slowly recovering from the recession, but there's a possibility the economy could slow down, and that because we lag behind, we could actually get hit twice. What do you think about that? Is there a concern that we might get a slowdown of some kind in the national economy, and just as we're about ready to get out of it because we are behind, we're going to get hit again? What do you think, Bill?
Well,
you concerned about that?
It'll start on the West Coast when it does. Everything works from the west to the east. We're the last one to feel it, you know,
mm-hmm.
and we're the last one to get back up. I see in the economy right now, I see a slowdown is going to happen. I think interest rates are going to start going up. I looked at my mortgage. My mortgage was renewed this month. It went up 0.25%. That doesn't sound like much, but it's something. It didn't go down, it went up. And I think we're going to see that. When is this going to happen? I don't know. But everything I read, something's going to happen in October.
In October? By the way, how does that affect you in terms of your business decisions? That is to say, if you fear that the recession, the possible recession is coming, how does that affect how you decide whether or not you're going to say build something?
My personal business? My personal business is a shopping center.
Okay.
And I have leases.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and so I hope that the people honor the leases, you know. But if they can't, they can't. You can't get blood out of a tournament.
Right.
And we just have to. It's a wait and see thing, as far as I can see right now.
Yeah.
You know, we have to go along with it. There's nothing I, as one individual, can do to change things that much.
In our development business, Devreco, we have been saying that interest rates are going to go up for the past 60 months.
Right.
We've been saying that.
Okay.
And everything that we build a pro forma on is a much higher interest rate than actually what we get. And it's going to happen. The honesty is that when interest rates go up, it's actually a good thing. That means that more people are working. There's a higher demand for loans, and people are buying cars, people are buying houses. You're seeing an increase in just a churn. And so is there going to be another recession? Yes. When is that going to happen?
We don't know.
Sometime in the future. But you know, we're in the longest recovery we've ever been in as a nation.
Right.
We've been in this recovery for 7 to 10 years, and if you look at any cycle, it's unfathomed as to how long we haven't had a correction. So we're due any time. But this is our new normal, and this is the economy in which we work in. It's much more entrepreneurial. It's much more soul practice. I mean, people are not necessarily, especially on the Eastern Shore, that's the small business. It's the small business person that makes this economy tick. And It's the drywall guy, it's the HVAC guy, it's the landscaper, it's the plumber. It's all those guys that make our economy, and it's those economic multipliers that keep us kind of level, if you will. Salisbury has such a diverse pie of industry that if one is not doing so hot, the other one's doing just fine. And we're very fortunate that we're not tied to a automotive plant, or we're not tied to a 3M manufacturing facility. We're tied to institutions such as Salisbury University, PRMC, UMES, Wallops. We're tied to all of these institutions that are creating a good balance for us.
So when you decide, when you're looking at a project, Brad, I mean, what are you projecting out in terms of when you think another recession might be?
Sure.
I mean, you may not know, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, are you looking at a year saying, well, okay, I'm going to invest in this, but then a year from now that could be, or are you looking at maybe, well, it'll happen in 2 years, so therefore I have time to do this? I mean, how are you doing that? Or
it's risk and timing is really what it is. I mean, our development business is diverse, and it reaches from Kent County, Delaware, to Talbot County in Easton. And we have a project right now where we're building a 60,000 square foot retail building in Kent County in Camden, and we're building that for one user of space. So that's a 60,000 square foot building with one user of space, and it's a qualifier. I mean, we have to look at the lender, and when the lender says, I think the tenant's strong, we look at ourselves and we say, this makes sense for us to build. We will have essentially a loan that's only going to have a certain period of term on it, and then we roll the dice and go. And we look forward. That's the only way we can do it and be successful in real estate in our development firm, is to look forward and learn from the mistakes that we have done. But
by the way, do you see a difference, or in terms of the real estate markets, do you see a difference between what's happening in the commercial side as opposed to the residential side? How do those two compare? Is one better than the other, or?
Go ahead.
Is blue or red better? I'm not sure. The commercial industry typically lags behind the residential, so we were seeing residential home values fall, just as the Eastern Shore does behind the West Coast. We would see residential home prices fall, and then commercial prices were a bit behind that, which also led to a slower recovery and slower stabilization. But at this point, again, I also think that the commercial market is stabilized.
So, at this point, do you think that you're going to see a greater growth, say, in residential or commercial?
They should be somewhat proportionate. In theory. I think that the commercial development expansion should happen first, to play on Bill's point a little bit. Creating jobs, creating industry should be creating population.
Wearing our the Sperry Van Ness hat and looking at us as a senior advisor with Sperry Van Ness, you take, for example, one of our listings, which is the shopping center that Mr. Ahtes owns. You're full.
We have one 4,000 foot vacancy.
He's got a 4,000 square foot vacancy in a shopping center that's 98,000 square feet. He's fortunate to have that.
Believe it.
Yeah, but he also works at it. So what you'll see is a lot of times that the property owner doesn't necessarily work the property. Bill is actively working that property to ensure that the tenants are happy, and he's got the disciplines in place with management, and he makes sure that everyone is paying rent and they're on time and they're happy, and that's the success of behind commercial real estate, is you work it, and when you work it, you're going to see a high rate of occupancy, and you're hopefully going to make money.
One of the things that is people express concern about is, I guess, what's been called a brain drain. That is, that there are lots of folks, particularly here, that go to Salisbury University, Warwick, and then they say, it's nice and everything, but I want to go to Baltimore, I want to go to New York, or I want to go to the West Coast, or what. How do you keep people who have gotten all this education, obviously taken resources from this region in the sense of an education, and how do you persuade them to stay?
I think it's quality of life. I mean, I really, truly do. It's, and I point back to downtown Salisbury and projects like Headquarters Live, but I think that the millennials, this population, they are not concerned about going to Wall Street to make 20 or 30,000 more dollars a year. If they can make an honest living in an area they enjoy, be able to enjoy the beach, go out on a boat, they're just a couple hours from the city, a couple hours from skiing, whatever they might want to do. Eastern Shore is kind of a hub. I mean, very centrally located. And it's having, I don't want to be so simple as to call it fun, but fun things to do for millennials, I think is one of the big keys. It's community, it's having a sense of being, and it's giving them a reason to hang their hat here and to want to be here.
And I can echo that comment. If you don't think as a person that there's nothing to do in Salisbury, you're not looking. You have some blinders on. There are hundreds of things to do in and around this community, and becoming involved and becoming part of the landscape in this community will pay dividends to you for a lifetime. And it's convincing or having that discussion with the person who's moving here or who lives here and say, look around, look at all the things that you can do, and but at the same time, making sure that we continue to have that discussion as a community as to how good our quality of life is, and also resonate that outside of our community.
Because how do you explain then that there is still the number of people who with college educations, they're leaving rather than the number as opposed to the number coming in. In other words, you have a disproportionate number of college folks who are leaving, who are not going to stay, who come from the area. And
that's a continuing discussion with UMES and SU, in that making sure their majors and the students that their product, their students, that when they graduate, we want to make sure that they stay here. And for example, a gentleman by the name of Bill Burke, he's a professor at SU. He is in charge of the entrepreneurial competition and has a living learning community, an LLC, which is a bunch of freshmen. And we've been taking those freshmen, a new crop, if you will, every year, and showing them what they can do in and around this community. And it goes back to education. I mean, if we can educate those students while they're freshmen and show them what they can and can do within this community, we have a better chance of them staying.
Joey?
And there's two issues. That's the one, absolutely. It's the kids that come in from out of town and go to SU and then return back to home, wherever that may be.
Right.
And the other issue is I'm from Salisbury. I went to Salisbury University, went to high school in Salisbury. The majority of my high school friends that went to college and stayed. Brad returned. There's others that returned, don't get me wrong. But so you've really got two issues. So I think the one is bridging the gap between the Salisbury universities, the Warwicks, the UMESs, and the community. And the other is also at the high schools. We did most recently Battle of the Bands for Bennett High School at Headquarters Live. It's showing the high school kids that there is a community and a place of being here in Salisbury too, so that when they go away to college, they at least consider coming back to Salisbury.
Bill, what do you make of this brain drain that we've been talking about? I mean, is that always been a problem in keeping people here?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, it's always been a problem. And when I was involved in a company here called Maytech, and Maytech was a very, very good company, machine shop. And they started a program out at Warwick to train people to operate these, to come to work to Maytech. And some of them stayed. And some of them did so well they went to other bigger places. But we've got to give them a reason to stay. And I don't see all the jobs. I mean, we're graduating a lot of people from Salisbury University, and I don't see any jobs available for them right now. It's a critical situation. To try to keep them and say, we want you to stay, but we don't have a job for you. They're going to go where the work is and where the pay is. And we're just stuck with that situation.
Do you think that that we need to invest more, say, in high tech? Is that something that's going to
Yes,
attract? I mean,
yes.
is that like the key as opposed to? I think there was a description about the brains and brawn kind of employment. Do you think that's where we need to put our?
We need more high-tech businesses. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And we've got to have students graduating with high-tech degrees in order to get the businesses. They're not going to come here if there's nobody to hire. They're going where the brains are.
And where the brains are is essentially a community that is a destination that has attractions, that has is a livable, walkable community, and that is what you're seeing happening in downtown Salisbury. That's what you're seeing happening in the Camden neighborhood. You're seeing folks that are reinvesting in the community, and it's happening. It didn't happen overnight. In our existence where we are. Again, this is an American story. It's not just about Salisbury, but we're turning. We're riding the ship, both with our local elected officials that are attempting to do. If you look at our executive Culver, he all the impact fees for any new housing start. He's waived those. He put a moratorium on it for 6 months.
That's good.
Little things like that will send messages out into the business community, saying, "Yes, you will be rewarded if you take this risk."
Well, because one of the things that struck me, Bill was talking about education levels, and one of the things I ran across it was a statistic which says that as statewide, Maryland, about 36% of the population has a college degree. In Salisbury, it's only 28%, and I think it's a little bit higher for Wacomico, but not much. So that, I mean, that's not a dramatic difference, but nonetheless, do you think that there needs to be greater effort to get students more educated, the population more educated? I mean, it's one of the things that struck me is that in a lot of ways, the Eastern Shore in particular, in this particular area, has kind of lagged behind in many ways. I mean, we have folks who come in, they go to Salisbury University, UMES, and then they leave, and then there's the rest of this population, which a lot of them worked, for instance, in the chicken industry or the poultry industry, that kind of thing, agriculture and so on, or the watermen, for example. Do you is there something else we need to do to raise that education level?
I think you've got a little bit of a chicken and egg going on.
Go ahead.
Pun intended. Thank you. Sure. You've got the industries that look to come to Salisbury and they see that stat, and then you have the kids that graduate or the kids that may be coming home and they see that industry hasn't come to Salisbury. So I know I sound like a broken record, but I really go back to the quality of life. If this is an area that people want to be and students want to be, they'll find something to do around here until they find that better job. Meanwhile, they are a citizen of the area. They look great on the census. A company comes in looking and sees more college kids, more education, just waiting for a better job on them almost. That industry comes here, and then it's a fit. So I don't know the best way to break the cycle of the chicken or egg, but I still think that quality of life is one of the key indicators.
Because, I mean, matter of fact, what I've read over the years is that, I mean, businesses, when they look at locating, I mean, obviously they'll do taxes and so on, but they'll look at things like transportation. They'll talk about, the environment in terms of business and so on. And they also look at the labor force. Mm-hmm. They say, okay, is this a labor force that can work for me, that's going to meet my demands? Brad, do you think that's working against us? The fact that we don't have more college education or more technical maybe education doesn't necessarily have to be college, but
in a lot of instances college is overrated. I mean, I hate to say that, but
you're absolutely right.
It's the ability to show up and be a hard worker and be a person that is willing to be a self-starter. And we as a nation, I think, in a lot of instances, have overrated the ability to go to college and graduate and have a higher level of entitlement on that level. And there is a lot of respect and a lot of money for people that are in the HVAC fields or in the plumbing fields or welding or all of these trades that you see. These guys are making six figures. and they're doing it quietly, and they're people that work with their hands, and they get down, they get dirty, and that is really what we're more about on the shore, is getting those people here, and they're around us right now. So when we consistently talk about having this higher caliber of labor force, we have it in a lot of instances. Right, you're going to see a boom in this next 3 to 5 years with offshore wind. And what's our community? What's our role in that? Is it with the Port of Salisbury? Is there a staging facility where you partner with Chesapeake Shipbuilding, and you are training a lot of welders? And speaking of Chesapeake Shipbuilding, I mean that in itself right there is a huge economic engine for Salisbury. So I kind of really didn't answer the question, but danced around it.
Well, let me sort of focus in on that.
Okay.
Do you think that what we need is more technical skill, education, more? I mean, I guess traditionally, it's vocational, but for lack of a better word. But it's not, and it's just not plumbers, but it's
and we have
people
it.
who know computers and all that kind of thing.
I mean,
because it's a high tech thing. That's
you
going on.
look at Warwick, and we have a nationally recognized community college at our right at our back step, and the folks that are coming out of that community college are invaluable to our local economy. And if we can focus in on those, what I'll consider block and tackle trades, we'll be very well off as a community.
Joey?
Yeah, to play on that, not to downplay college degrees at all, but a little snippet here. I've got more buddies that graduated college that still live at home than those that didn't go to college. And I've got more buddies that didn't go to college that went right into the workforce that own their own home, as opposed to the guys that went to college. So my point to that is that I think adequately employed with some disposable income is much better for our community than just having a college degree.
So there's also, I guess, we have some serious developments going to the south of us with Wallops Island and the facility there. We're looking at the possibility of certainly expanding that. What kind of role do you see the space industry playing in the development here? Any one of you?
Well, not only is it space, but it's they don't call them drones. What do they call them now? UAVs.
Right, the drones.
I mean, we if you think about from Dover to Wallops to Crisfield to Salisbury, we're essentially an aerial destination, and it's trying to tie those linkages together. When you have an asset like Wallops that is supported by the state of Maryland, and it's in Virginia, the economic multiplier that thing spins off for our community alone is huge. So absolutely, it is those jobs at Wallops, at the Salisbury Airport, even at Dover, are invaluable.
And also, the true traditional industries, agriculture and the watermen, they've been sort of the mainstay, although some of that's been on the decline, I guess. Bill, I want to put this to you. What kind of role do you see agriculture and the waterman industry playing in the future as opposed to what it's been playing in the past? I mean, is it holding steady, do you think, in terms of role?
I think the agriculture, especially the chicken industry, it's invaluable. I mean, we really need Purdue here, and I just hope the state of Maryland gets off their back and lets them do what they're doing and stop interfering so much. Otherwise, if we lost Purdue, God help us. I mean, we would be in serious trouble. The waterman situation is critical too. Right now, I remember. I was with a guy in a sub shop the other day, and he was a waterman. He had to get out of it because he was a crabber. There's no crabs. The crabs are being eaten by the rockfish. I mean, he told me one case they cut one rockfish up and it has 200 baby crabs in the stomach of a rockfish. Now, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, do you stop the rock fishing and hope that or do you increase the rock fishing? I don't know what to do. You know, it's nobody seems to know what to do. It's a problem that I guess nature will solve it eventually. But we need both industries.
Do you see those declining?
I think the poultry industry just got a big shot in the arm with the opening of in Africa. They just will now allow. They were putting a big tariff on the imported chickens. They're taking that tariff off, which will mean that they will be shipping many more chickens. I think you'll see the poultry industry grow. Mm-hmm. About the seafood, I just don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. But Brad, how do you see that? I mean, these are older industries. I mean, agriculture particularly is still one of the mainstays of the local economy. I mean, how do you see that? Do you think that's going to disappear in significance? Especially, I mean, one of the things that struck me is that there are farmers. I just don't think it's necessarily an escalating number yet, but there's a number of farmers who are looking and saying, you know what, I'm going to get out of agriculture. I'm going to sell my fields, and I got to develop here, and I'm getting out. What's that trend like?
I mean, if you're talking specific about agriculture, it's adapting right now. If you look at where a company like Purdue is going with their organic line of chicken or feed or just any product that has to do with agriculture, and Purdue is saying we're putting a lot of money into organic, and you're going to see farmers that and people that are born and raised in that industry adapt. If you look at a guy like Matt and Andy Holloway with their, they have a hydroponic lettuce greenhouse, mm-hmm. and they sell to grocery stores up and down the Mid-Atlantic. That business model, they're adapting. They're saying, I'm a farmer, I'm going to adapt. They sell sod as well too, and I think that if you're watching a person that is able and nimble, you're going to see a very successful agricultural business person.
So you're not seeing necessarily a lot of farmers just selling off their land because they want to get out or it's not profitable.
Well,
in terms of development, particularly.
Well, development today.
I guess it was probably a few years ago. I mean, when there was a big boom, I'm not sure that there was a case.
And I agree with what the state of Maryland's done in regards to what they call Plan Maryland, mm-hmm. and right, wrong, or indifferent, they said we're going to focus all development inside of municipalities or water and sewer districts. And the septic systems are going to be a thing of the past. That has put a tremendous amount of pressure on folks that own subdivisions that haven't been built yet in Wycomico County that are not on water and sewer. So in order for that farmer to sell off his land, that Plan Maryland, in a lot of ways, has unfortunately taken away the advantage of it being ultimately developed. Which, looking, say, 50 years from now, it'll be a good thing because you'll see more focused in the metropolitan cores.
Well, speaking of metropolitan cores, my favorite subject, downtown Salisbury, and I've been watching it over the last 10 years. A lot of controversy obviously is spun around it. I guess, and ask you, Bill, first. Where do you see downtown now in terms of its potential development? I mean, we had everything from closing off the plaza, then they opened the plaza, and then they had the parking lots, and they're not going to have the parking lots. I mean, there's a whole series of things that have been going on, and some of the fights that you allude to, the political fights in the city council particularly, has revolved around this. Where, as you look back, sort of give us a little history here, where do you see the downtown Salisbury in terms of its development?
Well, I understand that they're going to reverse the street, going west to east. I personally would like to see a two-way street, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. I remember when it was a two-way street and had parking, but that's up to the government. As far as the city parking lot, I understand my friends are considering building apartments and stores and things on the city parking lot. I personally would take my time and study it real hard before I did that, and I would start on the west end, and try it. See how, do some of it and see how it worked. If it was successful, I'd continue. But you'll find out real quick whether it's going to work or not.
Well, I mean, there's in terms of downtown development. I mean, it seems like well, I can remember seeing actually photos of those parking lots, and at one point they were all filled with buildings. I mean, there was now I don't know what people did for parking back then. Maybe you can tell us, but I mean, was it just? And I understand the parking lots were actually supposed to be temporary. What happened
years
here,
ago? And I can take you back as far as you want to go.
Go ahead.
You're right. Where the parking lot was, that's where Cavanaugh Motors was. I can see a gas station there. I can see the ice cream stores there. I can see the whole thing full. But everybody now has 2 cars in the family instead of 1. It seems like. So there's a lot more traffic in this area than there used to be. And we used to have a bus system. And I think they have a quasi bus system now, but not like they used to. It's hard to see that far in the future. But what I see on Main Street, and I walk Main Street a lot because I love it. I just walk downtown, and I see the stores. I walked in the City Center, which was my baby there for a long time, and it's full, and it looks great. And these stores that they've just put in there are beautiful stores. They're not just throw a chair in there and hang it there. I mean, they spend a lot of money, and I'm proud of it. And now the Hess building has been sold. Somebody will move in that Hess building with the right incentives. And the guys that are doing it know what they're doing. So I think that would just about fill the plaza.
Let me ask you this: what do you see the relationship between development of downtown with stores and that sort of thing, as opposed to the north end of the city, where you obviously have the center at Salisbury, along with a whole slew of big box stores? What do you see the relationship? Do they serve different functions? I mean, how do you see the relationship?
Yeah, it's a different situation. I personally, I don't go north of Salisbury once a month hardly. Anything I do, I want to do downtown in this area. I'm a downtown person. I understand that the shopping mall in Salisbury is not doing that great. I don't have all the answers to that.
Yeah.
But things change. I can distinctly remember when they opened when they closed the plaza. Then that's when they had a shopping center at East Salisbury. Had an office in there, and that was very popular for a while. Then all of a sudden, one moves, the other one moves. One big store moves. It went bad. It just didn't work anymore. Then people started coming back downtown again. So,
Brad, what about you? I mean, you obviously, both of you and Joey are deeply now involved in downtown. You've got headquarters live. First of all, how do you see the difference between, say, those stores up to the north as opposed to where you're going?
Okay, so if you address North Salisbury, you have an 800,000 square foot Center Salisbury mall. That was one of the last malls built in the United States. Go to a website called deadmalls.com, and you will see malls after mall after mall after mall, just completely vacant. Center Salisbury is reinventing itself. You'll see vacancy with J.C. Penney's. You'll see where I think Cracker Barrel is going there.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to see more of what I'll call a faux Main Street at the center at Salisbury. So that actually creates an advantage for a place or a destination like downtown Salisbury. The millennial generation is saying very loudly, as a generation, we want a place to have attractions. We want destinations. We want bars. We want restaurants. We want music venues like Headquarters Live. And that's what you're seeing in downtown Salisbury with, I mean, you can literally go to Mojo's, Market Street, Sushi Day Kanpai, Rody Joe's, Brew River, Evo. There's only a short list I can think of, all within walking distance of each other, and to be able to live, work, and play in a 2 mile and a half radius we are very fortunate. to drive down Camden Avenue and go downtown. So the future of downtown is not going to be what Bill's downtown was. It's not going to be a shoe repair. It's not going to be where you go buy a dress and a suit. What it is it's an attraction. And it's making sure that we have the infrastructure in place to have facilities such as I just named, all within walkable distance, and it's a livable community. And that's the future. And we've all heard of this little website called Amazon.com, and that's how we buy things right now. I mean, we buy things through our iPhones and Androids, and we no longer need to go to get milk anymore. I mean, it's really weird, but I mean, yeah, that's the future of downtown.
There's no sense of community in a shopping mall. There's no sense of community.
Sterile.
There's no place of being. For example, I mean, I've worked with tenants both downtown quite a bit and shopping centers, and tenants in shopping centers tend to kind of fight a little bit about parking, about signage, about those kind of things. Working with prospects and such downtown, they all get together and say, what can we do? Let's do something together for Third Friday. Let's all pitch in and do something for First Saturday.
That's the greatest thing we do that.
Yeah. So not only for the patrons or for the business owners and everybody, there's this sense of community being downtown. While in the subject of downtown, seeing Bill talk about the city center, I think that I can get him to buy it for like a fifth time. Will Maud let you? You want to buy it back?
No,
Are you sure?
No. I'm positive she wouldn't. It's cheaper to keep her,
There's always been a lot of talk about the plaza, and it's always interesting to see. Personally, I don't care which direction, if it's got parking, if it's parallel, or what have you. There's always been so much focus and association with downtown revitalization and what that daggone plaza looks like. Just hearing the stories, I mean, I don't think that they are correlated at all. Leave it the way it is, that's great. Add parallel parking or more parking spaces, that's great. Add outdoor eating. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think no matter what they do, it's not going to be the center of the synergies of downtown. I did hear one quote I really liked, though. If it's going to look like something vehicles should be driven on, I'm sorry, if vehicles are going to be driven on it, it should look like vehicles should be driven on it. The way it stands right now, it's a little bit dangerous as pedestrians don't know exactly when they're in traffic or not. And although it is curvy and cobblestone, people still seem to go down a little bit fast. So,
yeah. Well, because one of the things that struck me as I've been looking at this is that a lot of people go to the mall, and obviously the mall has a different function. That's true. But the thing that struck me about downtown is that it seems to be kind of chopped up. That doesn't, like for instance, if I want to go from downtown and I want to go to Market Street, right? I get this gigantic parking lot that's sitting between me and that. Okay, so I have to traverse it. Now, that distance may be much shorter than, say, walking from one end of the mall to the other up to the north, but that's a much nicer walk in the mall than it is going from one place to another. How do you deal with that kind of disjointedness, at least that I perceive, that I mean, there's not a cohesiveness, you know what I mean?
I think,
Well,
I think that one of the big tickets is that those big open parking lots are not necessarily a good thing for downtown. They have to be developed smartly. Parking, walkability, all those factors need to be implemented. Same with courtyards and gathering spaces and event area. But I think as long as you have this big empty parking lot in between there, you talk about walking from the mall, you would walk from the movie theater to Boscov's. But you probably wouldn't walk from Boscov's to Green Turtle.
Right.
Even though it's probably a closer walk, you would hop in your car and you would drive over and park in Green Turtle's parking lot. So it's the same kind of thing. Walking through, we are, as people, we don't want to walk through a huge parking lot, even if the distance isn't that bad. You drive through parking lots. You park in driveways.
From just a walkable standpoint, you can, and I run it. You can run down Main Street, walk down Main Street, cross Route 13, and be within the city park, and it's all within 3 minutes.
I can do it in 2.
Yeah, he's faster. He's got a longer stride.
Right. Although the question is, right, it may be shorter, or maybe, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, given the environment that you have to walk in,
Well,
does one really want to do that?
I don't know. I mean, you have this little thing that it was built in the 70s called the Riverwalk.
Right.
Right in front of La Quinta. I mean, you have a great area right there that is very walkable and inviting.
Right.
Should it be used more? Absolutely. It's also appreciating those assets and being able to say, yes, I can walk from Market Street to Brew River along the river.
That's true.
And it's a safe, navigable path. So once you kind of say to yourself, this is good, it is.
Well, we've been talking with Joey Gilkerson and Brad Gillis. They're advisors to Sperry Van Ness, as well as being behind the headquarters live venue in downtown Salisbury. Of course, they're no strangers to development because they are, of course, the sons of the prominent developers, Palmer Gillis and Tony Gilkerson. Also, we have had Bill Ahtes, a longtime businessman, talking about downtown, and I think one of you called him the grandfather of downtown Salisbury. Maybe we'll find about that later. I appreciate actually all of you taking the time to stop by and talk with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This
has been Delmarva Today. I'm Don Rush. Thanks for listening.
This has been Delmarva Today, a production of Delmarva Public Radio. Chris Rank produces and is our audio engineer. Don Rush is your host. For podcasts, visit our website, delmarvapublicradio.net, or subscribe to the Delmarva Today podcast on iTunes. Delmarva Today can now be seen on PAC 14. To view the schedule, view the daily times, or visit pac14.org.